Hello, if you are just a regular person who wants to have an Airbnb or nightly rental, this is for you because I am just a regular person and I'm not going to sit here and talk to you about how you can have 100 Airbnbs in the next 2 months and 10x and triple X your income. But I can show you how to take the first real actionable step in getting your first Airbnb. And with that, I will give you the backstory of how we got our first one. So back in 2021, my husband and I had two very young boys, like under 2.5, two under 2.5. And we decided to buy a house right when COVID was like going crazy. So we purchased this house all for our family, no intentions of ever making it an Airbnb. But after a while, I was just like so sad. And I just wanted something to change because we were really reliant on solely my husband's income. And we didn't have any extra, inflation, all that. I don't need to explain that to you guys. We wanted to feel more free. And something kept coming into my mind, and it was like, you already have everything that you need, or you already have everything that you need. You already have everything that you need. And I'm like, well, what does this mean? I've heard that before, but what does it mean and why is it in my head? And then it just clicked for me, like, we already have a house. We already have our first Airbnb. So with clearly delusional thinking, I kept telling my husband, we need to move out. Let's make this our Airbnb. It'll be our first one. And he's like, well, Beth, where are we going to live? He had questions that I hadn't had answers to. And he's like, I will entertain this if you actually have a plan. And that really helped me because I need somebody in my life to help me or tell me to make a plan. So I devised a plan. And that was to renovate our house like a little bit, mainly cosmetic. We had to do our downstairs bathroom because our downstairs was just like a concrete jungle, gross, boring basement. And it needed a bathroom. So we proceeded to do a lot of work inside, which was very frustrating because, again, we had two little boys and woo, you get one thing done and then you look over to the living room and it's like a bomb went off. But we went through it and we made it. It took us probably 4 months from the moment that we decided we were going to move out to actually moving out, having almost everything done, and deciding where we were going to live. Because there were a lot of questions like, was this going to work? Would we get bookings? Do we want to get a lease somewhere else, but then we would be tied up for a year? So we decided to move in with my mom. So we moved in with my mom like 1 week before we went live on Airbnb and Vrbo and Booking.com. So yeah, I totally painted every square inch of that space. I started doing massive orders on Amazon, Wayfair. I got on blogs about how I can actually be an Airbnb host and have a great nightly rental. I want to show you and just remind you that even if you don't have like a massively gorgeous house, your dream house, like a perfect nightly rental, it does not matter. People will rent it if it looks cute, if it's clean, and there's a reason to stay there. So let me show you what our home looked when we moved in. There's so few photos now, but because we bought this house in 2021, so I don't know. but it was so boring. Luckily, I can see the potential in a lot of things. This was the living room, the kitchen, the upstairs bedroom. Yeah, no, my computer is going so slow. Now, this is what I made it into. Same house. Please load. Please load. I'm uploading a ton of photos from my computer so I can delete photos from my phone. So it's having a little bit of a hard time. Okay, please work, my love. All right. So here, let me see if I can turn this up. The brightness. Come on. All right. Here is the living room. I painted all of the kitchen white, and the ceiling black, which my mom was like, ah! We put the wallpaper on this wall, changed out the lighting fixtures, put hardware on here. Now, it sounds expensive, but it's like, okay, I bought a pint of yellow paint. You know, what is that, $15? I bought hardware from Amazon, like $15 for a huge pack. We kept everything in the house that we possibly could because we didn't want to spend a ton of money. I mean, I'm sure that you don't either when you get your Airbnb up. And honestly, it's best to spend the least amount of money, but get high quality items. Okay, my computer is all messed up though. Here's the baby crib that both my boys slept in when they were infants. Here's our bed frame. And then it pops off this white. I love it. I got all of this art from Amazon, the bedding from Amazon, the duvets. This is our dingy basement. It looks better in person, but you know, it's a basement. Who cares? 5 beds, 4 bedrooms, 5 beds with a crib. This is the renovated bathroom here. It's just the little things like rolled waffle towels in a bright orange is so cute. I got this stuff off Wayfair. It's just cheap little tile that my cousin laid down. I just did my best to modernize it without having to spend a shit ton of money. Because baby's on a budget. All right. So the whole purpose of this video is to tell you that if you want to have an Airbnb, you just have to start with one. And to just cut out the noise of people saying like, this is how, like, I have 72 Airbnbs and I did this in 6 months and blah, blah, blah. No, you need to start with one. If you already have a home, that could be your very first Airbnb. It catapulted us by doing those changes and like making those huge risks and kind of decisions like for our family. My husband didn't want to move in with my mom and I didn't either. I'm a grown woman, but we did. And she was generous enough to like help us with that. This decision has completely changed the trajectory of our lives, has given us so much more confidence, so much more freedom in our day-to-day lives. And I'm just trying to tell you that like, this is possible for you. Just start with one, just one. And then when you want to have a second one, you can do that after you get the first one. But do not paralyze yourself when you get it in your mind that you have to have 50 Airbnbs as a beginner. You know, that's just not ever going to happen. I mean, it could. All right. But you are worth it. And I will see you on the next video.